Welcome back. Today, we will show you how to create SQLite Offline CRUD iOS and Android mobile apps using Flutter. Sometimes, we need an offline app, especially when the internet connection is unavailable. For this, we will use the common local database such as SQLite. It will be easier for someone who wants to learn the standard query language SQL. This tutorial divided into several steps. Step number 1, preparation. Step number 2, create a Flutter application. Step number 3, install SQLite library. Step number 4, display list of data. Step number 5, show data details. Step number 6, add a new data. Step number 7, edit the data. Step number 8, run and test Flutter application to iOS and Android. The following tools, frameworks, and libraries are required for this tutorial: Flutter SDK, SQLite, Android SDK, Xcode, Terminal on Mac or Linux, or CMD on Windows, IDE, Android Studio, IntelliJ, or Visual Studio Code. Let's get started to the main steps. Step number 1, preparation. Install Flutter SDK. To install Flutter SDK, first we have to download Flutter macOS 1.17.1 stable zip. Next, extract the file to your desired location. Next, add the Flutter tools to the path. Next, to make iOS and Android binaries can be downloaded ahead of time, type this Flutter command. Check the required dependencies. To check the environment and displays reports to the terminal windows, to find dependencies that are required to install, type this command. We have this summary in the terminal. The issues just connected device. To fix this issue, just connect your device using USB cable, then run again ADB devices to check if the device is really connected to this computer. Set up IDE. We need to set up the IDE to make it working with the Flutter app easily and compatibly. Start the Android Studio. Then open Android Studio menu, Preference. Choose Plugins in the left pane. Tap Flutter in the Plugins Marketplace. Then press Enter. Next, if Flutter not already installed, just click Install button. If there is a prompt to install Dart, click Yes. Restart the IDE when prompts to ask Restart. Now, the Flutter is ready to develop Android and iOS mobile apps. Step number 2, create a Flutter application. After the IDE setup complete, it will back to the Android starting dialog. To start a new Flutter project, then choose Flutter application. Click the Next button. Then fill the required fields and choose the previously installed Flutter SDK path. Click the Next button, then fill the package name with your own domain and leave the Include Kotlin support for Android code and Include Swift support for iOS code blank. Then click Finish button. Next, run the Flutter application for the first time. In Android Studio toolbar, choose the device and main Dart, then click the play button. Step number 3. Install SQLite library. We need to use a standard way to install the library or module by add dependency to the pubspec YAML file. So add this line after Cupertino icons. Next, click the Packages Get button in the Flutter commands at the top of pubspec YAML content. That commands will install the registered dependencies. Next, create a folder and class or objects, lib, models, and file, Dart file, that represents the SQLite table. This class is about earnings or expenses, so the content of this class should be like this. For SQLite database initializations, table creations, and CRUD operations, we will use a separate Dart file. Create a new folder and that file inside the lib folder. On this file, add these lines of Dart codes. Now the SQLite is ready to use with Flutter application. Step number 4. Display list of data. We will display the list of data in separate Dart file that will call from the main Dart homepage body. So, the whole structure of widgets that display a list of data at least like this mockup. Next, add a Dart file for building the list view widget. On this file, add these imports of Flutter material, models, and detail page. Add translist class after the imports that extends the stateless widget. On the first line of the class body, declare the variable of the trans objects and the constructor of translist class. The trans variable used to hold data from the list of SQLites that load from the main Dart. Next, add an overridden widget after the variable and constructor to build a list view. This list view builder contains the card that has the child inkwell widget that used to navigate the detail widgets using material page route. The child of the card is a list tile that contains an icon, text as title, and the text as subtitle. The inkwell widget has an on-tapped event with an action to navigate to the details page. Notes: keep in mind, every widget that uses the child only has one widget as its child. If you need to put more than one widget to the parent widget, use children widget property. Next, open and edit lib main Dart, then replace all Dart codes with these lines of codes to display the list view in the main home page. We use the existing floating button as the add data buttons and add a footer bottom navigation bar that display the sum from the list with the sum of earnings subtract by the sum of expenses. Step number 5. Show data details. We will display data details to another page that opened when tapping on the list item in the list page. For that, create a dot file in the lib folder first. We will use scrollable card widgets to display a detail to prevent overflow if the card content is longer. So the layout structure of the widgets combination at least like this mockup. Next, in this detail widget dot file, add these imports of Flutter material, database helper, edit data widgets, and trans objects model. Add a data widget class that extends stateful widgets. This class has a constructor with an object field of trans objects and detail widget state that build a view for data detail. Add a underscore detail widget state class that implementing all required widgets to display data details. This codes build widget combination of container, card, column, image, text, and rise button. The rise button has on press event that actions to navigate to the edit data widgets and trigger the confirm dialog. Next, before the closing of detail widget state class body, add this method or function to navigate to the edit data widgets with trans objects params. To handle the delete buttons, we need to add method or function after above methods that show an alert dialog to confirm if data will be deleted. Step number 6. Add a new data. We will create a new dot file for the entry form to add new data. In the form, there will be a text field form, a radio button, and datetime fields. The time field is using the datetime picker form field plugin or library. For that, open and edit pubspec YAML and add this after another dependencies. Next, run packages get by click on the packages get button in the Flutter commands toolbar. Now, the edit data widgets is ready to build based on this mockup. Next, open and edit lib add data widget dart or create this file in the lib folder and then add these imports of datetime picker, form field, internationalization, Flutter material, database helper, and trans objects model. The text form field we use datetime field and text editing controller to binding the value, but for the radio buttons we will binding it manually by first adding the enum variables after the imports. Next, create a class of addData that extends stateful widgets and has a constructor and addData state initiation. Now create a class that called in addData class that builds the layout for addData. This class declares or requires variables that will save to the SQLite database, data binding, database helper, initiations, and form declaration. The form contains the datetime fields, ready button, text form fields, and the submit button. The action on the submit will save the data to the SQLite database, then write back to the list view. Step number 7. Edit data. The layout for edit data is the same as the addData view with additional objects params that get from the details page. These objects will fill the default value of the datetime fields, text form field, and ready button. On the submit, it will update the data based on the ID, then redirect it to the list view. First, create a new .dot file in the lib folder. On this file, add these lines of the Dart codes to build the edit form and function to submit this form to the SQLite database. Step number 8. Running test Flutter applications to iOS and Android. To run these Flutter apps to Android, simply click the play button in the Android Studio toolbar as previously shown in the first steps. Make sure your Android device is connected to your computer and appear in the Android Studio toolbar. To run these Flutter apps to the iOS device, at least you must have Apple developer personal accounts with your own domains, or example, com.chamber as a bundle or a package. Next, open the iOS, Runner Exe workspace, and Xcode, then click Runner in the project navigator. Then click Runner in the project navigator. In Runner Xcode project, click the Build Settings tab. Scroll down and find Signing, then choose the development team to your Apple developer personal account. Now you can run the Flutter apps to the iOS device from Xcode or Android Studio. If you get this error, we have to fix this by running the pod install in the iOS folder.